Step 7, describing segments. Because for describing segments, we are using descriptor variables, which we haven't used for creating the segments. We can use normal statistical tests to assess if there is an association between descriptor variables and the segmentation we detected. And now we'll also distinguish between, is the descriptor variable nominal, ordinal, or is it a metric variable? And for nominal, ordinal variables, what we have is our cross tabulation. For example, here between gender and segmentation base, and to test the null hypothesis that the gender distributions is the same over all segments, one can use a chi-square test. The chi-square test rejects the null hypothesis. This means that in at least one group, the distribution is different from the other groups. So this is, we can run the analysis now using function hisk.test on the table, and we get the standard output, which provides for performing statistical tests. The output first tells us which test was run. Here it's a Pearson chi-square test. Here we have the information what data set was used, what was the input, and then we have the test statistic, in this case x squared, which takes the value 5.3, and the statistical test has the information that under the null hypothesis, the test statistics follows a chi-squared distribution with 5 degrees of freedom. So here we have additional information on the distribution under the null, and this is evaluated, the distribution under the null. How likely is it that if the null hypothesis is true, to observe that test statistic or a more extreme one? And here we see the p-value is 0.38, which means it's pretty large. So this happens quite likely if the null hypothesis is true, and that's why we decide to retain the null hypothesis, and we cannot reject it. So we didn't find significant differences in gender distribution between segments. Analogously, we can do this for the cross-tabulation between moral obligation and segmentation. And if we run the test here, we see we have a p-value which is 5 times 10 to the power minus 14, which is very, very small. And if we test at a significance level of 5%, we would now reject the null hypothesis and would conclude that segments differ in their moral obligation levels.